As much as I wish that we had that one pill, that one thing that we could do that's just like, you take this and you're good for everything. It's like, unfortunately, that's just not how we're built. That's not how the population is. And it's always better to find somebody who is either a health coach or a doctor that's giving you the personalized time and attention and treating you as a person and not just a number.
Welcome to another episode of Purify and Beautify, the podcast that shows you the other side of beauty. Every week, we interview the expert in the world of beauty, health, and wellness so that you can make informed decisions that are right for you. My name is Noura Bouchama.
And I'm Linda Yates. This week, we're going to be speaking with a fitness and health coach, Cameron Excell, about all things supplements. Cameron has a wealth of knowledge about anything related to training, nutrition, gut health, and even bodybuilding. We're definitely going to be picking his brain about how supplements relate to all of these things.
If this is your first time listening to Purify and Beautify, welcome. We are so happy to have you. If this isn't your first time, we hope you'll follow or subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app and share the show with someone who can benefit from all of this amazing knowledge. Now, let's get into it. Cameron, thank you for joining us in Purify and Beautify.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
I'm really glad we're talking today about supplements. I think we all wish that there is a magical pill that we all can take and skin it check all the boxes, healthy boxes that we need to cover. But unfortunately, it's not the truth. It needs to be like tailored for each one of us. And supplement, it's a broad subject that it's really need to go. What do you need? What side that you're interested in doing? And navigating, discovering this, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming for every one of us. So I'm really happy we're here today to discuss about that and maybe give some tips for our listeners to know how to navigate that big market.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, it's a big subject, and you could probably do multiple podcasts on it, but we'll try to give just some like small takeaways for an intro.
That's awesome, Cameron. And when we're talking about supplements, though, in this context, we're basically, if I understand this correctly, we're meaning that anything that anyone takes in addition to the regular diet, like vitamins, minerals, amino acids, I don't even know what those are, and protein powders. Is there anything else that you'd add to that definition when we're talking about supplements in this broad term?
It could be so much, but I would say that anything that I would classify as a supplement is something that you're taking outside of proper nutrition. Like it should always start as a fundamental basis of you're eating right. You're getting a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, multiple different carb sources, protein, and then it's whatever we can't fill with our maybe calorie allotment or how much we're able to eat in a day. Anything that we take beyond that to make sure that we're getting those things that we need. So it could even come down to like for some of those people out there that are more into like the carnivore, like doing the animal organ pills and things like that, just to try to hit all the bases. So it can be anywhere from workout supplements, lifestyle supplements like vitamins and minerals. Um, it's just something that is to supplement an already well put together healthy nutritional plan.
Gotcha.
When you start working with someone and who has no idea about supplements and the words of supplements, how can you like take their hands and like take them in the right directions, tell them what to do?
hmm Yeah, yeah. Generally, what I typically do with like new clients is I make sure to kind of like talk to them, find out what they're already doing, and then kind of expand on that. So if somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm not doing anything, it's like, all right, okay. The first things first is we want to get blood work. We want to get blood work. We want to check vitamins and minerals. But in the meantime, let's have you start with supplementing with a good multivitamin, an omega-3 fish oil, usually vitamin D, and then depending on stress levels, most likely magnesium as well. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't know. We're all basically deficient in magnesium, so it's
Mm.
important to have that. And then we can always dive into this later, but there's those different forms of these. So like different forms of magnesium that you can get, and not all of them are going to work the exact same way. But that's usually where I would start somebody, is like before we have blood work, before we've been to the doctor, before we've seen like where our B12 is and all this. It's Let's start with multivitamin, fish oil, magnesium, and a vitamin D supplementation, just to try to cover as many bases as possible.
Those are some great suggestions. So, so just in general, but is there anything that, or can we get everything we need from a balanced diet? Is that even possible in today's day and age?
Theoretically, it's possible, but that key point that you said, in today's day and age, there's a lot of things that have changed in the world in the last 50, 60 years, and one of the big ones is food quality and food amounts. They've been able to do things to advance food production so that we have enough food calorically, but the amount of nutrition in that food hasn't grown. So we have more food, but the same amount of nutrition when we had less food. So uh, as far as getting everything that we need, most likely, if you were to get everything that you would need, you would be actually be at a unhealthy body fat level, because of the amount of calories you would have to consume in order to get all of those vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, which are nutrients specifically from fruits and vegetables, from plant sources, in order to supplement everything that we need. So that's where it's comes. That's where we have to find the balance between, maintaining a healthy body weight, a healthy body fat percentage, but then making sure that we're eating enough calories and not overeating, but then making sure that we're getting those nutrients that we need. So that's where the supplements can kind of come in. And then in addition, there's a few of them that's just harder to get. Especially with the fact a lot of us work in office, like we're all in offices right now. So a
Mhm.
big one, vitamin D3, is like that's hard to get without us being in the sun as much as we used to be. But then, skin cancer. I don't want skin cancer, so I'm fine taking a pill.
Okay, so if I understand right, there is like something that we all can take. Like there is a kind of supplements that everyone can take, but I'm not. As you mentioned earlier too, it all depends on the healthy fats percentage, body fat percentage. So at the end, is there one supplement that can fit everyone?
I would say if there is one supplement that could definitely fit everybody, it's probably just your general multivitamin. But when I say multivitamin, I want to add a caveat. It's not go to Walmart or go to Costco and pick a multivitamin. It's usually you want something that's a little bit more well formulated, specifically that has the absorbable forms of the minerals and nutrients. So a big one is the B vitamins. You're About 90% of the population has a genetic variance that makes it so that you can't absorb B vitamins from your diet unless they come in the methylated form. So you need to find methylcobalamin, which is B12, in order to be able to take it in, and then methylated folate too. So that's one caveat. So the way to find those is typically to go through a little bit more expensive of an option, but I would say a one size fits all is typically that multivitamin. When it's well formulated, it will cover most of your bases, and for most general people just trying to live a happy, healthy life, that will go so far.
Oh, that's great. So, are there differences in how you approach supplements for women versus men?
Yeah, actually there is. Uh, as far as like supplements for okay, we'll start here. Men are very simple creatures. Men are so much easier than women.
Oh,
But for men, it's very simple. There's been a big disparity as far as the studies that have been done. Honestly, a lot of the studies that people have referenced as far as like health, exercise, fitness, nutrition, all that, they were done on men. They were done on college age men, actually, because those are the populations that are at universities, that are very, let's say, hormonally, uh, what's the best way to say it, like hormonally, like the same, like men have, we do have a hormone cycle, but it's a daily one. It's our
okay.
testosterone, it peaks in the morning, tapers off during the day. Whereas with women, you have that um, confounding factor that you have a 28-day cycle,
Mhm.
assuming that everything is healthy and working the way that it's supposed to. So it's like you may feel tired one day and then it's like, oh, it's because of the workout, but it's like, well, no, we're just actually in that phase of our cycle right before the period starts. We're feeling antisocial. We don't want to be around people. So that's why it was easier for them to go with men, but it's left a huge gap for women. So when it comes to women, there's a couple of differences. You're going to need actually a lot more nutrition than men. One that's key, that because we see so many thyroid problems nowadays, is
Mhm.
actually iodine supplementation. Is making sure that you're getting enough iodine. So men, we just need a little, just because we just have our thyroid, then we're good to go. For women, iodine actually nourishes breast tissue and ovarian tissue as well.
Oh.
So you actually need a higher percentage of it. And I think it's highly likely that I can't say causational, it's correlational, but I believe that the reason why we're seeing so much thyroid problem in the world right now is actually a lack of iodine, especially in women. Typically, men, we can get by on like very minimal amounts, but women, you need so much more that when you're that deficient, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I can't lose weight when I want to. And they're saying that I'm hypo thyroidal, where it's actually just like we just need to nourish the thyroid.
Mm.
So that's one of the differences. But then as it also comes to is you approach it from a sports and exercise standpoint during the different phases of a woman's cycle, you're actually going to want to prioritize different things with nutrition and then with training. So it's not fair to measure yourself week to week. I'm like, oh well, this week I'm stronger than I was last week, but then the next week I'm weaker. And it's like, well, that's more of hormones coming into play, not necessarily like something got messed up with your nutrition or anything.
Mhm. Those dang hormones.
Yeah.
I'm really happy you mentioned the absorbability and the thyroids, because I know for a fact that the supplements cannot be absorbed completely when we take them as pills. And I have seen that a lot of people would take them IV. And in most of the like health clinics right now, you don't even need a prescription to take them by IV. But why is it so important to work with a healthcare professional for whatever like supplements you want to take, either it's IV, either it's pills, or any form of supplements?
Yeah, I would one I do think that's something that we should, touch on, just let people know is like for me, like I'm not a doctor. I'm not your doctor. So don't take this as personal medical advice. This is just general advice to then consult with your doctor about. But it's important to work with your doctor specifically because it's your body. You're an individual. Your genetic code is completely different from mine. You might be able to absorb the just regular B12 that you find in like energy drinks and stuff, and you're totally fine with that. For me, I actually did the genetic testing. I do need the methylated version, or I don't have it. And I think yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to just always work with a healthcare professional because you never know what's going to happen. Maybe you're allergic to fish oil and actually taking fish oil is bad for you. And that's where it's like, okay, we got to balance it out and figure out where else can we get omega 3s. So it's always important to work with your doctor, just to make sure, because they should have access to your full medical history and hopefully family history as well, as far back as we're able to track, just so that we can keep track of trends, allergies, things that are unique to your genetic pool. Which there is some genetic testing that we can always do. It's really interesting, but we can always take a look at like how sensitive are you to cholesterol and lipid and
Mm.
building up calcifications in your arteries. So there's different things that you can always test, but that's why it's important because like as much as I can help you with like the nutritional side, how to work out, how to use correct form, biomechanics, and all of that. I'm not your actual doctor. It's not my job to run blood work for you. I can interpret it and tell you if you need to go talk to your doctor more and potentially look at medications to get in control of things. But my practice is to be a health coach and to help you to live a healthy life. But part of that is you need to work with your doctor. You need to get blood work. When you're sick, you go to the doctor and get their help too, because sometimes you do need medications, and leave that up to the doctors to tell you when that is.
Oh, that's a great point. So, Cameron, if someone has worked with their doctor to determine that they're deficient in and that they're getting ready to buy that supplement, how should they choose? There's so many. And another follow up question to that: how can someone be sure that they're getting a product that they can trust?
Yeah. So the way that I would approach this is trust is always earned and it can be lost just as fast as it's gained. So when it comes to supplement companies, the first step that I would say is make sure that what you're going for is something that's third party tested. So probably the top three that I would say to look for, it's usually put on the bottle very clear, is either the NPA, NSF, or the TGA. Those are kind of the big ones. There's a few other ones that are reputable, but usually it'll be like they'll have those third party tested and then an additional one. But usually these are outside of the actual supplement company. They're not related to it. They're typically funded elsewhere so that they can be impartial and actually test and make sure that it reaches a medical grade standard, that it's within a certain degree of exactness on that pill and how much you're actually getting there. So that's the difference between like medical grade supplement and then just like commercial grade, which you would find at Walmart. Um, so that's why I would say is make sure that it's third party tested. And then what I would always say is I've had this happen before where I have clients go to a third party um, tested company, they're using their supplements, and then something changes, and the a batch is bad and it's got spiked with something. So it's like always be hesitant on that trust. Just because it was good doesn't mean that it's always going to be good. And if you feel like it's not working now, maybe do some research in that. Switch over to typically if you switch over to a smaller, newer company who's trying to earn your trust, you'll get a little bit better of a result because they really value those, that's the small amount of consumers that they have, and they're really good on that. Usually when things get a little bit too big, things start to kind of like get a little frayed at the ends and they stop worrying about quality as much. So typically what I would say is yeah, if you want to make sure that you're getting a good product that you can trust, third party tested, and then typically try to find a smaller nutrient or nutritional supplement company, just because they will be very like, this is more of like a psychology thing, but they'll be very adamant about making sure that everything is high quality
Makes
because
sense.
they want to earn you as a returning customer.
That's a very interesting point. Now, if we can speak on how you can coach on a broader level, how would you coach people? How would you work with them to develop a nutrition plan? Would you do that for them? Or how would you start with them and until when you can go with it?
Yeah. So as far as like coaching people more broadly and developing nutrition plan, like that is what I do for my full-time job. Is I work with all people. I started lifestyle, and then I got a little bit more niche into mine with like bodybuilding, but I still do work with lifestyle and just moms and dads just wanting to be healthy, live longer, and ultimately just not end up in a nursing home. Because that's my biggest fear, is ending the last 20 years of my life in a nursing home. So when I start with people and how I develop things is I do have like an intake form that they're able to do, which is very similar to what you would do when you go to a doctor's office and you fill it out for the first time and talk about like your allergies. Mine's a lot more specific to obviously, what are you allergic to? Because if you're allergic to nuts, I'm not going to tell you to eat almonds. But it's very specific to like, what does your schedule look like? How often are you able to work out? What cardio equipment do you have available? Do you have access to a full gym? How much time are you able to commit to each week? What are you currently eating? Do you know what your macros or your calories are? Like, what information do you have? Do we have any pre-existing injuries or anything like that? Are you allergic or sensitive to anything? Are we trying to work through digestive issues? There's a lot that we kind of dive into, and by taking all that information and condensing it, then I'm able to figure out through calculation what roughly where your calorie maintenance should be, and then from there develop a plan that's split between different sources of meat or protein options that are sometimes vegan or vegetarian, and then breaking up, making sure that we're having enough fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes, different places of getting different nutrition, and trying to create as much variety as possible while making it deliverable in a way that actually works with somebody's schedule. Because there's nothing worse than having to work at like say a doctor's office and you don't have time to sit down and like microwave things and eat for like 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and then getting a plan from somebody that's like, oh well, you got to eat chicken and rice during this time. It's like, well, I can't step away from my work. I need something that's more attainable. So I take that into account as well. And everything is individualized and personalized to the schedule, the routines that they have, what they're feasibly actually able to do. Just so that they have the highest chance of success. The worst and the most discouraging thing when it comes to coaching somebody or being coached is when you're not getting results, and especially if it's not getting results because it's just like I can't follow this plan because I don't have a way to prepare the food that you said that I need to prepare. So that's what I focus on, is just creating a lifestyle that you're able to follow relatively easily without pain. Um, and then the way that kind of like supplements kind of come into play with that is we start with those basics that I talked about, like the multivitamin, the fish oil, the vitamin D3, the magnesium. And then typically within that first month that somebody starts with me, I always start as like, when was the last time you got blood work done? Okay, it's been 6 months, it's been a year, or it's been, I've never had it. It's like, okay, well, I want you to reach out to your primary care physician and set up blood work. And here's a list of, tests and blood tests that I suggest, like running, vitamins and minerals.
Usually the doctors will prescribe those ones.
Typically, yes. I've gotten some pushback from some doctors. Sometimes they kind of push the thing of like, oh, you're young and you're healthy, and I'm like, you don't know that until you actually check. I've worked with men that are in their early 20s, like 22, 23, who we've worked together. We've assumed in the past, I've assumed they're healthy. And for 6 months it's like minimal progress. Get them to go get their blood work tested and check their hormones. They're hypogonadal. They have no testosterone. They're at 100 nanograms per deciliter. And I'm like, well, that explains why it feels like you're not building muscle and you're not getting stronger and you're not losing weight like you should. And then they can talk with their doctor, get on hormonal treatment if they need it, and if they decide that's what they would like to do. But usually once we correct that, all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool. Well, in this last like month, you just dropped like 15 pounds of fat and put on 5 pounds of muscle. So turns out that's what we were missing. So yeah, that's the thing, is that it's always important to tailor things to the individual, and just make sure that um, you're treating them as an individual person. As much as I wish that we had that one pill, that one thing that we could do that's just like, you take this and you're good for everything. It's like, unfortunately, that's just not how we're built. That's not how the population is. And it's always better to find somebody who is either a health coach or a doctor that's giving you the personalized time and attention and treating you as a person and not just a number.
There is always that's like non-knowledge, like hidden thing, the taboo thing that we don't talk about. That when you go to a life coach or a trainer, they can give you supplements that are magically changing everything. And sometimes people will ask if we can get the testosterone from off market or the. How would you push back through these things?
Yeah, I would always push back and say, you should get everything through your doctor as much as possible. There's no reason not to. And in the case where you are getting pushback from the doctor that they don't want to run certain tests, or they don't want to do certain things, or they don't want to prescribe maybe testosterone or estrogen or progesterone for the female population, then what I would say is like, that is a sign that maybe you should be looking for a better primary care physician, or asking for a referral to go work with an endocrinologist, or potentially reach out to a specialized HRT TRT clinic to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and living the best well life that you can. And that's why I would also just tell everybody, is just remember that as much as we love doctors and rely on doctors, it's your body. You're the only one who knows how you feel in your body, and you should be the one who's in charge of your healthcare. And if you feel like you're not getting the level of care that you need, you have every right to go and make sure that you're getting that care.
I like that. Change your primary doctor before you go and try to get treated without. a primary doctor. That's a very dangerous way to go.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you always want to be monitored. You always want that person who's checking your health and asking the right questions, whether that's a health coach asking those questions or whether that's your doctor. It's I would very much say work with a specialist who has been trained. And like as for me, it's like that there's a thing called scope of practice. So like as far as me, I can take a look at your blood work, I can analyze it for you, I can tell you things to do nutritionally and like all that. But if I see something that's off, I can't just be like, "Oh, well, I'm going to diagnose you with this." That's not my job. That's a doctor's job, which I will be able to look at things and be able to be like, "Hey, I'm a little bit worried about this. You should set up an appointment with your doctor. Let them know that you're worried. Make sure to ask these questions, and if additional tests need to be run." So, for instance, I had a client that his cholesterol was high. So I told him, I'm really concerned. This is the second time that you've come back with your cholesterol this high. You're in your 50s. I want you to reach out to your doctor and get a calcium score done because I want to make sure that we're not getting calcification. There's things that we could potentially do and things that your doctor can do to help improve that if it does come back that you have calcified. But those are the things that I'm talking about. Is like, I wasn't able to tell him is like, oh, you've got calcifications. Let's start this thing. It's like, you should reach out to your doctor and you should ask if you can get this test. And it makes sense. You're in your 50s and your cholesterol is above the range.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a really
I love
great
that.
point. You've got to be in charge of your own health and be really educated. And so, given that, I'd like to ask though the question: when do you know a supplement is not working and that you can like stop taking that supplement? Because it can be easy. I'm the type of personality that is like, oh yeah, let's add this, let's add this, let's add that, and when is there a point where, you know what, maybe I don't need to have all of
Love
these,
that.
you know?
Yeah. So as far as how to know when you're like taking too much, and I will also add in there, kind of trying to figure out when the quality is dropped. There's always a couple of things that you can always kind of like go back to. The big one that I would say is blood work is king. If you're taking a vitamin D supplement or a vitamin B12 or something, and you go and take a test and it's showing that you're basically having no supplementation, then it's like, okay, well that's strange because a year ago when I was taking this, it was in normal levels, but now it's not. That would be a sign that it's like, okay, maybe we should switch to a different company. Maybe we should try a different one. Beyond that, it is a little bit sketchy to kind of try and self-diagnose yourself without like physical numbers. But if when you started, say, taking the D3, you felt kind of like the alleviation of some of the low D3 symptoms. Like you started to feel maybe a little less depressed, a little bit less anxious. Things started to seem a little bit better, things like that. But then you start to notice that you start to taper back towards the more depressive. That'd be a sign that I would say it's like, you know, if you don't have the money and if insurance isn't going to cover another set of blood work tests this year, then it's maybe okay. Let's try switching and just kind of do it. Make sure that we go with another third party tested
Mm,
reputable brand. If it gets better, then it's like, okay, there might have been something off with this other company.
okay.
So we'll switch to this new one. But typically I would suggest blood work is king. And then beyond that is how are you feeling? Are the symptoms coming back? For example, a lot of people take turmeric and curcumin to help with inflammation throughout the body. So if you start taking them and it starts to get better and you start to feel a little bit less achy in like joints and muscles and recovery after exercise is coming a little bit faster, but then you start to notice that those start to come back after maybe a year or two or something like that, then that's where it's like, okay, one, let's get blood work, maybe check like
Mhm.
our CRP, our C-reactive protein, see if we're on a high inflammation level, try to identify reasons why that would be, but potentially switch the supplementation company that you're getting through and go through another third party tested one. But yeah, and generally, I don't know, I'm a firm believer that there's almost no case where I think like somebody's supplementing too much.
Mhm.
um so it's like if you're having multiple different things that you're taking, that's okay. The one thing that I would caution you on do not megadose things unless it's done under medical supervision.
Mhm.
A story with this is during 2020, during the pandemic, my dad was super worried about vitamin D. He started megadosing vitamin D, and he actually was doing it partly unintentionally because he didn't realize how many things had vitamin D in it. He started to get his kidneys tested, and they thought that he was in kidney failure. But it actually
Wow.
turned out that he was having vitamin D toxicity, which was throwing off the numbers on his kidneys and was actually starting to do damage to his kidneys. He's since
Mm.
corrected that, and his kidney numbers have improved. So always, and it was done because he actually worked with a renal specialist, a kidney specialist, and was
Mm.
getting regular blood work. So once again, doctors, blood work,
Yeah.
they're good. Don't be scared of them. There's no reason to be nervous. You just have to find the appropriate doctor, because it took him 3 renal specialists before he was able to find one who was asking him, what vitamins are you taking? And then
Mhm.
they were able to identify the problem.
Wow.
So sometimes it's just asking the right question.
Yeah.
um, but as far as taking supplements, I'm a firm believer of taking supplements. I'm taking a lot of supplements um, right now, honestly, just to preserve health, and to work through some digestive issues that I've been having recently.
Gotcha. So if
I
someone
know
wants to,
that all
oh,
supplements, oh, sorry, all supplements have a label at the back and they give you the percentage of daily intake. So
mm,
just to be safe, maybe just add up those. Like, you know how many supplements you're taking. Try not to take more than 100% than your daily needs.
Yes, yes, exactly. I would definitely say that too. Is they do give that. Mind you, I will say that is still a little bit outdated. It's based off of like a 650 pound man, but still, there's no reason to be taking 1,000% of anything.
right. Okay, cool. So if someone wants to follow you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's just Cameron Excel. Actually, I think it's Cameron period Excel. Cameron period Excel. But you can also find me through my website. You can find www.excellfitlife. So if you can see it, that's how you spell Excel. That's my last
Yeah.
name. It is my real last legal name. I was born with it. It's not a stage
Wow.
name or anything like that. But so Excell and then fitlife.com. You can find me there, or you can just go to teamexcel.com,
Sweet.
and you'll be able to get in contact with me there as well.
Cool.
We will check you out for sure. I will. I know I will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been so much fun. Too, I have to do self-disclosure. Cameron is actually my awesome son-in-law. So I have a very vested interest in he and I have had many conversations about supplements. So it's been so much fun to have you on the show today. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, and I'll be sure to send you $5 on Venmo for that compliment there.
All right. Right. Take care, y'all.
Thank you for being here. And I hope we're going to get you back soon. I think there is a lot we can discuss together.
Yes, there's so much. We lightly touch a lot of subjects, but we can always
Scratch
dive
the
in more.
surface of it.
Mm.
I agree.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much
having
for
me.
being here, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. See you soon. Thank you.
It was great speaking with Cameron, and not just on a personal level, but I loved visiting with Cameron today. One of my biggest takeaways, I guess, is to really be in charge of what you're putting into your body and your health, and not just relying on a doctor's one opinion. Like that great example that he gave with regard to his dad having to go to 3 different specialists to figure out, whoa, he is over supplementing in a certain supplementation. I thought that was really powerful for me.
What I really resonated with me is that not the same kind or the same like form of supplement is good for everyone. It touched a nerve because I know that my body doesn't absorb all kind of supplements. I need specific kinds. Otherwise, it's just hurting my stomach. So really stressing out your same point, Linda, going to your healthcare provider and making sure what form of supplement you need to take, it's a key. Because you want to take something that you will get the benefit of having it, not just stuff your body with pills that's honestly not going to do anything to you. At the end, I really loved talking to Cameron. He was knowledgeable, and I hope we're going to have them again soon if everyone agrees. And we want to thank you for listening to Nurify and Beautify, where we show you the other side of beauty. If you want more information about us or to read our blog, check us out at purify-beautify.com. I'm Noura Bouchama.
And I'm Linda Yates. See you next time.
The mission of Nurify and Beautify is to help you understand what beauty, health, and wellness products are effective and safe, so that you can make decisions that are right for you. When you follow, rate, and share the show, you help us do just that. And we really appreciate it.
And if you haven't been over to our YouTube channel, we'd encourage you to go check that out. Watch all the interviews. And we'd love for you to leave us a comment while you're at it. This podcast is produced by TSE Studios, and our music is from Soundstripe.